Bryan Brown can deliver a line as good as any actor in the world. He inspires us on the screen. He's also not bad at spinning a yarn when he puts pen to paper. So what makes this proud Aussie larrikin tick?
Good to see you, mate.
You too, mate.
You like to keep busy, don't you?
Well, you know, I think it looks like I'm busy.
You got us fooled, have you?
Let's get it right. I became an actor so I didn't have to work too hard. Let's start from there, right?
Okay.
But then, you know, things turned around and I actually did start to work fairly hard.
Bryan Brown has been working solidly.
Shall I continue?
For 50 years.
You wouldn't be dead for quids, eh?
Always the laid-back Aussie.
What's my greatest talent? Reading between the lines.
Even as a gangster.
Mom, there's a vampire up under the bed.
What, a vampire?
Under the bed.
Bugger me, a vampire under the bloody bed.
All right, I'll look after it.
Shaz, get us a steak, will you?
You know, that whole thing about being busy, you know, like the book, The Drowning, that I wrote, that was probably over a period of 4 or 5 months I wrote it, but not sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week or anything like that. You know, it's like I've got an idea where that story can go now and spend a couple of hours on it and then might not have another thought for another 3 days. So, you know, it might appear that you're busy sitting down writing a book, but there's lots of gaps in between while you're writing it.
So when you started the book, did you know how it was going to finish?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'd written this other book a couple of years ago, which was a collection of short stories, Sweet Jimmy, short stories, crime stories. And, you know, and I figured that maybe I'd have another story or so in me. I was thinking about the area where I've got my farm and that, and all the fire trails and the back roads and places that have, you know, like do not enter or bloody padlocks on gates and stuff. And I was just cruising through my mind about all that. And I hit on this idea about a young bloke who decided to enter a don't enter area and just what he saw. And having got that, and I went, that's a really arresting little moment there to start a book on. Yeah. And so I had 3 characters.
That's page 1.
Yeah. So I had 3 characters in that little moment. And I went, well, those 3 characters, if I start to explore them now, that'll give me a pretty good story. I had no idea where it was going to go, though.
Did it surprise you at all? It surprised Sam Neill. He was baffled that you were such an excellent writer. Did it surprise you at all that you're so good at this?
It didn't surprise me that I could tell a story.
No.
What did surprise me was that people talked about a style that I had in it, and I'm unaware of that. You know, I'm putting the story down on the page in my way, just as other writers put it down in their way, but I didn't realise that people would comment on the style as much as they did, because you know, there's not a lot of adverbs or adjectives in my writing.
Well, you write the way you talk.
Oh, probably.
Boom, boom, boom.
Probably, yeah. And also, my game in terms of storytelling is I'm interpreting characters. You know, I do movies or television. I'm playing something that someone else has written, and I just interpret that emotionally or whatever my way. Here, I'm having to create the characters myself.
Well, they say you write about what you know. You know, what do you know about crooked cops and bikies and human trafficking and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, you know, when you go into those areas of crime, and whether it be human trafficking or drug trade or whatever, you want to get it right. So I've been lucky enough, particularly in the first book, a detective out in Parramatta was very helpful to me. And so I call on him, I've called on him again for this, and his, you know, and other cops that he knows for advice on certain things as to how it works. So crime on a heightened way lets us explore our morality. We look at something and go, do I think that's right or wrong based on your own value system and all that? So I think it's quite interesting. I find it interesting to explore those places where you have a big choice to make or a little choice to make, but that little choice you make could eventually be a big choice. And I'm always interested in how you can make a bad choice and where that bad choice, which doesn't seem so bad, can actually lead you somewhere pretty disastrous.
When it comes to his career, Bryan will tell you he's made his share of bad choices, but a lot of good ones as well.
Of course you'll see.
And the best one was the one that set him off on his acting journey.
Just give me the money. I got the hippie shade.
I worked at the AMP Society when I was 17, 18, studied to be an actuary, which is all mathematics.
And it's a triple word score. So what do we got here? 2, 10, 20, 27, that's 81. And I used up all my letters, that makes 131.
Thankfully, the AMP in those days had a drama club. And Bryan, the actuary, signed up.
And they gave me a piece of paper to read, and saying that, that I have to read opposite someone in a minute. And I got a feeling like I hadn't had before. And I went, and I think it's about expressing yourself. Suddenly I found a place where I could express myself. Through mathematics at the AMP, I was never going to express myself.
It's a good example of one of those little decisions that has big ramifications.
Yeah, big ramifications, yeah.
And the rest is history.
I never thought I'd see you set up like this.
And then you're working with the biggest stars in the world, with Tom Cruise and Cocktail, Sigourney Weaver, Sir Paul McCartney,
Sir Paul McCartney, can't wait to see his concert.
Do you keep in touch?
No. But he's one of the people that I would love to come across him again.
It's a beautiful summer's day. There's not a cloud in the sky.
Because he would be exactly the same as he was. Just a really delightful and straight up bloke. Ringo was on it too, right? And I got to the stage where at lunchtime we'd be having lunch, and I'd pray that Ringo wouldn't say anything, because he was so funny that as soon as he opened his mouth, you were on the floor holding your guts. And I said to Paul one day, why is Ringo so funny? He said, well, when he was about 13 or something, he was going to die, and they ripped miles of his intestines out, and so for Ringo, every day's a good day. and you know, like, let's get it right. You know, going to Rwanda with Sigourney and filming gorillas in the mist on top of a mountain, surrounded by gorillas for 3 weeks, as close as you are, with 10 of them around. That's an experience you don't get every day, and you can only probably get through film. And in fact, if they shot that now, I doubt they'd let the actors be as close as what we were.
In Court, the new Stand series, you played the Australian Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Warren Whistle.
Warren Whistle.
You sending boys into Bahati Prinsloo could be a big problem for us.
We don't have any boys in Bahati Prinsloo, Madam Secretary.
Do you really not know that, or you're just not supposed to know that?
Nobody knows.
I know.
I said to Albo, I just played a Prime Minister, I said, Warren Whistle. He said, oh, I'm Anthony Albanese. You know, I said, I'm Bryan Brown. So we've got a whole lot of things going on here.
Well, you do have a lot in common with him, really, don't you? I mean, you're both brought up with strong mums.
I often notice that, yeah, and both from Housing Commission, public housing, and both totally happy about, you know, I couldn't have had a better home, and it was a public housing home. I'm so grateful for it, and my mum was so grateful for it. And it was, you just don't get a better home. You might have got a better house, but, you know, fibro houses are bloody great, you know, like, but I couldn't have got a better home.
How would you go as PM? Kirribilli House.
I can't work out why I've never been the PM, quite truthfully.
Well, yeah, Warren Whistle.
It was about time I got to play the PM, I reckon.
Do you ever consider politics?
No, it's much better throwing grenades at them and telling them what they're doing wrong or why haven't they done this. What a missed opportunity that was. Should have declared a public holiday.
Well, if he was PM, you can be sure that Bryan Brown would introduce legislation to make the streaming services produce a minimum amount of Australian content.
See, love, there's always going to be stories told on a screen, no matter how big or small. My thing's always been like, you know, let's make sure a fair few of them are Australian stories. The streamers do get a lot of money out of Australia, and it's fair that I think they put some of that money back into Australian product rather than, because it's going to go into product somewhere. So why not, you know, let's not let it all go into Yankland. Let's have some of that go into Australia. The thing I think people don't realise is, you know, when you're a small country, your art culture is fragile. You've got to fight for it. You can't take it for granted. We've always got to fight for our place as a culture. We've got to remind the Pollies all the time that this is important.
Remember how beautiful you were? Look, who is that sexy girl?
You tell people you're going to talk to Bryan Brown, and everyone says, geez, he's a good bloke, that Bryan Brown. I mean, what does it mean to you to be known as a good bloke? Universally.
Yeah, but you see, I don't necessarily know that, you know.
Well, I'm telling you.
Yeah, all right. Well, then, you know, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Compliments are nice.
It's kind of the ultimate compliment, isn't it?
Well, we do use it. Yeah, like, I was going to say there's two things that we said. You're a good bloke or you're of a bloke. You know, I'd rather be a good bloke.
Well, you are a good bloke. Well, Bryan, it's lovely to talk to you. Congratulations on the book, mate.
Thanks, mate. Good to talk to you.
It's a cracking read. It's a great read for a Sunday afternoon on a summer's day, I would have thought.
Yeah, good.
Good to see you, man.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you.
Yeah, he's a good bloke, isn't he? And the Downing is available Tuesday.